Welcome to the Ocean Community 50 Under 50 series, presented by the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. The road to success starts at Valenti family of auto dealerships, and visibility along the journey increases greatly with the help of 321 Media.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Oh, it's time. It's time. We are here again. 50 Under 50 is done, despite what you just heard on that intro. And 50 Over 50 is officially here, the second half of the year, to celebrate 50 new members of this elite club, the 50 Under 50 and 50 Over 50, to create a list of 100 exceptional members of the Ocean Community to help celebrate the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce's 100th year. Can't believe it's been 100 years. I am so excited. Thank you to Valenti family of dealerships and 321 Media. That's just me and my crew, so I don't need to thank us. But I want to say a huge thank you to everybody. And today I am very excited because to kick this off, this was just announced like 2 days ago, and we already have our first recipient in the chair. First one to be in the new studio as well. We have Bob Elmer. Bob, how are you?
Very well.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. So I'm very excited. I'm going to read a bio, your bio, that was, by what you sent in and also whoever nominated you, which is a secret, but whoever nominated you for this gave us some information. So the uncomfortable part of the interview is right now where I read this basically at you.
Okay.
Ready?
Fine.
Okay. Bob Elmer is a Curry College graduate, Vietnam veteran, Alzheimer's professional, and local author of Join the Journey, a justice of peace and historian driver at the Ocean House. Bob has spent decades serving his community through countless roles. For nearly 40 years, he has been the beloved MC of the Westerly Summer Pops, and for the past decade, he has brought the same warmth and energy to the Special Olympics croquet tournament. A proud Rotarian of over 40 years, Bob has served as president and active volunteer, giving his time to the organizations including Westerly Pops, which is the course of Westerly, Rotary, Special Olympics, Road Church, and many more. Whether auctioneering, serving Dell's Lemonade, or writing about Alzheimer's and local history, Bob embodies service with heart. He also has made a meaningful impact as a wedding officiant, helping couples begin their journeys together, and as a contributor to the local newspaper. Above all, Bob treasures family life with his wife, Ada, daughters, Robin and Ebby, son-in-law, Adam, and his 4 granddaughters, Sophia, Josie, Stella, and Eva. Eva or Eva?
Eva.
Okay, great.
Eva T.
Now approaching 80, Bob continues to inspire those around him with integrity, humility, and a joyful commitment to community. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Elmer. Bob, how you feeling today?
A little overwhelmed by all that. I'm not quite sure who's responsible for that. Just let your audience know it wasn't me. I didn't write that.
No, it's not you. It's the I'm never privy to who the people who nominated
me.
Yeah, I'm never privy to who's nominated. And what I really love about this series and what I learned over the first 50 interviews is nobody expects to be on this list, and everybody gets a little taken aback when they hear all of their accomplishments read one right after another.
And when I looked at that list, I'm in some pretty good company.
You are in some pretty good company, and you're the perfect person to lead us off, I think, because you are an incredibly well-known and respected name in this community. Your legacy precedes you. I was very excited. I figured that your name would be on the list, even though you and I have never really met other than maybe a chance encounter here and there. But I knew that your name would be on the list, and I was so excited. And as soon as I saw that you were the first guest to sign up to do your interview, I was so excited about that.
Very kind of you.
You are very well known for your incredible voice. And we were talking a little bit about your history with the local radio station. local radio stations for many years. Tell me a little bit about how you got into that.
Well, that was my major in college, going way back. Once upon a time, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, I was just taken with radio. I was fascinated by it, and decided that when the time came in my life, what were you going to do with your life? I said I wanted to work in radio. Never lost that. As you heard, I'm a Vietnam veteran. When I got out of the Navy, went back and finished up school, majored in communications, worked at the college radio station, and one of my professors, who was connected with people in the industry, of course, was given a phone call from somebody in Groton, Connecticut, who owned a radio station, and said, I'm looking for a guy. And he said, I have one. And that was, I think, in 1973. And I finished school. My first job in broadcasting was working for what was then WSUB AM and FM. It's now WSUB AM and Q105 FM.
Okay. I like WSUB, the sub base. I like that. That's great.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I got it.
Appropriate set of call letters, to be sure.
Yeah, I got what you were laying down there. And so how long, I mean, I know that the memory care minutes are something that you still do on the radio, but how long did you spend in broadcasting?
I was in broadcasting for 25 years. My last job in that industry, I was working as a manager of a group of radio stations in New York. And because of our daughters and not wanting to uproot them, the company was kind enough to give me an apartment there. And I'd go up on Monday mornings, come home usually on Thursday nights if scheduling would allow that. And in this day with this technology, you can do sort of a remote thing, as a lot of people are now doing. But again, loved working for that. But that was 175 miles away. And my wife, who worked as a family coordinator for a local assisted living community, the owner of that particular business was about to expand and needed an administrator. He needed someone he knew I had the business acumen, but needed, of course, the experience in that field. So he approached me and said, how would you like to come and be my administrator? I'm looking at this property. And everything sort of eventually fell into place, and I changed careers and became an assisted living administrator. We built not one, but 2 memory care communities on our campus. As a result, I became an Alzheimer's care specialist. My thinking was, as an administrator of not one, but 2 memory care communities, that if I was going to be talking to you or anybody else about their loved one that was facing those challenges of dementia, that I better have a pretty fair idea of what I'm talking about. As a result, I collaborated with the Alzheimer's Association, became a master trainer of Alzheimer's care, an Alzheimer's care specialist, eventually wrote a book. And then when I left assisted living, continued in that field, really as an Alzheimer's care specialist. And along with what I do at the Ocean House as a historian today, I'm also still writing the Join the Journey articles for actually 6 newspapers in Rhode Island. And the Memory Care Minutes were certainly part of that.
Yeah.
So there I'm on 3 different radio stations, and those are 60-second vignettes, helpful little hints that people that are in the caregiving world, I hope like it. The feedback I get is they do find them helpful. I certainly hope so, because that's the intent.
I've listened to many of them, and I find them helpful myself. I've done a lot of work with the Alzheimer's Association of Rhode Island in the last 5 years since the pandemic, doing the Caregivers Journey Conference for 4 of the last 5 years. And it's incredible work. And I just want to say thank you. As someone who, my mom was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia shortly before she passed away. And thankfully, because of COVID, she didn't, I mean, it's never easy to say thank you. Like, thankfully, she passed away from something else first, but thankfully she didn't have to go down that road too far. But it is, the Alzheimer's Association came into my life just after that. And I love, Donna and Annie and everybody that works there.
Well, they're a marvelous resource.
I source
them all the time in my writings, and what they do, the service they provide is invaluable.
Tell me about your position as historian at the Ocean House.
That's a lot of fun. People that know that I do that, they actually pay you to talk. And 'cause anybody that knows me knows I don't need a lot of encouragement. When I started there in guest relations, it was kind of an interesting story. You had mentioned in your introduction the Special Olympic croquet event that the Ocean House sponsors every year. This will be my 16th year as the master of ceremonies of that event. And I wasn't working for the hotel at the time. I was just, I started out my connection there. Well, actually, I was a patron of the old hotel and the new hotel, like so many people, but they knew the work that I did in the community, and they said, gee, we need a guy to MC this event. And we said, oh, we know just the guy, because I was also doing weddings for the hotel. And when a woman would come in from out of the area and want to get married there, and we don't know anybody, but we do, and they'd make an introduction. And that morphed into, we needed an MC for the Special Olympics event. And again, that was 15 years ago. At that event 6 years ago, the president and managing director of the Ocean House Collection said, why don't you just join us in guest relations? And I said, well, that sounds like a lot of fun, but we need to talk, because along with lecturing and working with the first responders and training and lecturing and the memory care and lecturing at the University of Rhode Island College of Nursing and so on and so forth, I also had the wedding. So I had a very busy schedule. And the way not to get a job, as most people know, is not to walk in with a list of reasons you can't come to work. And but the hotel was wonderful. They said, listen, that's not a problem. We'll work around it. So on days when I do have a wedding, I'm not on the schedule, or if I have a lecture or any kind of another conflict, they're just wonderful about it. That morphed. Part of that job in guest relations was, bless his heart, Lisa Zarro, Mark Zarro's wife, is one of the 50 over 50.
Yes.
I'm sure she won't be happy that I reminded her of that, but nevertheless,
she was the second person to sign up, by the way.
I got a very cute email from her. But nevertheless, Mark was then doing the tours. He's one of the managers at the Ocean House. He's an incredible guy and a very valuable asset to that property. But Mark was doing the tours, and I realized with all the other hats that he wore at the hotel, I could take this off his plate, and was pretty happy to do it. And I really, in typical Bob Elmer fashion, if you will, kicked it up a notch and really turned it into something I hope is really kind of special for the hotel. And I really look forward to doing the hotels, and I've sort of built a following now, which is really a lot of fun. And there's more. There's more to the Ocean House than being 4 doors down from you-know-whose house.
Yes, absolutely. My house. No, I don't live in Watch Hill.
Well,
I wish.
I'm referring to she who will not be named.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's not to despair.
Well, I mean, hey, maybe there's a rumor that they might get married in Rhode Island.
Yeah, I heard that.
If they need an officiant.
Yeah, I'm volunteered, but you would know it if I were.
I think I know a guy.
That would be mom. Mom would be the word on that one. Let me tell you.
Yes. What? How did you get into officiating weddings?
Boy, that's an interesting situation. I know you're aware of Nick Keppel, who's an attorney and a former judge of probate. And way back when, in my broadcasting days, I used to handle the political advertising for the radio station. And Nick was running for first selectman, and he won. And part of his job as first selectman was to also be a justice of the peace. But he didn't want to have the responsibility. He didn't want that. So he said, would you like it? And I said, gee, why not? I'm just the boy who can't say no. So I said, sure, why not? And that was over 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've officiated one wedding myself. It was some of my best friends got married, and they got married in Connecticut. And the rule was you couldn't get like a day, like a 1 day justice of the peace thing. You couldn't do like a Universal Life Church document off the whatever. For Connecticut, you need a real justice of the peace at least. And so we had one that they hired that just stood off to the side, and I did the entire ceremony. And then at the end, I said, and now because there is absolutely no power vested in me by the state of Connecticut, I now pronounce this woman to finish the service. And then I stepped over, and that was great. But I loved it. And I would love to, anybody out there, Bob's not available, call me and I'll ask him if I can borrow one of his signature bow ties.
Well, you've got to understand that in Connecticut, in Rhode Island, justices of the peace are not allowed to marry people without permission, special permission. I have to go to Representative Azzanaro, for example, and he submits a request on my behalf, and they actually submit a bill.
Oh, wow.
And it's signed by the governor, and I end up getting some very serious paperwork that has to accompany the license when I file it. Rhode Island's rules are a little bit different. It's not the purpose of this interview, but Rhode Island, you need 2 witnesses over the age of 18.
Hey, listen, Bob, don't twist my arm to have you back in for more interviews about other things, okay? You got a spot in that seat anytime you want it, my friend.
But in Connecticut, you don't need a witness at all. I've done weddings where it's just the bride, the groom, and me, and that's it.
Let's talk about the Rotary. You're a proud Rotarian of over 40 years. What is the Rotary? How'd you get started, and what has the Rotary meant to you?
Well, it's an enormous blessing in my life, and frankly in the world. There are over 1.2 million Rotarians in 34,000 clubs, literally around the world. Back in the early 70s, when I started at WSUB and my first radio job, my dentist was a Rotarian, and I was the sales manager. I was the advertising manager of the radio station, and he said, "How would you like to join this organization?" Now, I had known about Rotary, believe it or not, way back in high school when I was grabbed with a couple of friends of mine to perform a play to promote the Rotary speaking contest in Massachusetts. So, but I really did not get into the weeds at all until Dr. John Curtis, the late John Curtis, invited me to join the Groton Rotary Club. From there, I transferred to Mystic because of job changes and so on and so forth. But what you need to understand about Rotary is not only do they serve the immediate community like our club does. I've actually been the president 4 times of 2 different Rotary clubs. And I do that because I know I have the backing and the support of a board of directors that shares the same goals and objectives that the club does. But one of the things that I'm most proud of, and a lot of people don't know this about me, my sister and I both had polio during the 50s epidemic.
Oh, wow.
The largest, really most visible international project that Rotary has is to eliminate polio in the world. So, and this was after I had joined. This started in 1985. I had joined in the 70s. And so when they started that project, I knew I was really in the right place. And when that project started, the End Polio Now project, polio was endemic in over 125 countries. Today, we've reduced that down to 2. So we're really this close to eliminating polio in the world, and that's something that I'm very honored to be a part of. But that's an international effort, but they do water projects, they do housing, education, on and on and on it goes, all around the world. The work, this is a whole nother, you don't have enough time in this interview to get into all the effort, all the things that organization does.
You're welcome back, okay? You have a spot on any day. You just show up and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I'm here for a show." And I'll say, "What are we talking about today, Bob?"
All right. But it is a fantastic organization. Our motto is service above self. And you've got, we've got one great club here in Westerly. We've talked about Pops. They do the refreshments. Every nickel that we raise selling refreshments at Pops goes right back to that event. But we've done, just endless programs with children and education and the library and on and on and on it goes.
You know why you're one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done? Because I can tell that you're a broadcast professional. You lead me into the next segue all the time. Let's talk about the Pops. Let's talk about the Pops. So MC for
38 years.
38 years. My entire life, you've been the MC of the Pops. How'd that come to be?
Well, like so many, once upon a time in a land far away, we were standing in Dixon Square when they had that thank you concert that started it all. And what's not to love about that event? If you met Bunky Kent, he's one of the dearest people that ever walked the face of the earth. And to do have anything to do with what that man does, I'm in. And I mean, taking out the trash.
Yeah.
In fact, one year we actually did that together at Pops. He was riding in the golf cart with me as we were picking up barrels. But I mean, it's just a spectacular event. We went to the second one, and as everybody knows, the second year there were so many people that showed up the next year that first responders were horrified because emergency vehicles couldn't get through all those people, and oh my goodness. And that's when I developed a relationship with the park. And it was Doug Rayner who came to me and said, hey, we'd like you to take on this responsibility. And I missed a few years because when I was working in New York, I wasn't able to make it. So that's why I didn't do all of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Pardon me. But I mean, it is such a special event. It's something that I am so proud to be a part of, and that I actually at one point said I would be happy to take the trash out if they ever threw me off the stage. And that actually happened a few years ago. I had a wedding, and the bride called me up and said, getting married at around 2:00 on the 21st of June. And I said, well, okay, Pops says that won't be a problem. A month before the wedding, they changed the time to 6.
Oh, no.
Oh, well, when you go through the rehearsals and they've got the ceremony and they've got, you've had the meetings and so on, I'm not about to pull the rug out from underneath this bride. And in all fairness, Ryan decided he didn't want to change horses in midstream because I could have done the wedding, but not done the pre-show, introduced the pre-show. And, but would have made it to introduce the main show. But I understand he wanted continuity, and but I was still there in time and didn't miss the concert. And that night I was on trash detail. So I'm a man of my word. But I was back on the stage the next year and been doing it haven't missed one. And it's something I'm so proud to be a part of. Again, as a veteran, every other year they do the salute to the armed forces. And, I can't tell you how proud I am to stand there and, even though I'm a Navy guy, to say, United States Army, stand to be recognized. And those are some wonderful men and women that have worn the uniform. And speaking as a veteran, and going off on a tangent, when you have that kind of connection, when you have that in common, having worn the uniform, you have a connection with these people that nobody else in the world will ever understand. It's pretty special stuff. So Pops is something that's just near and dear to me. It's such a wonderful regional event. And I mean, you've been there, you've filmed it. And I don't know.
Not the actual show.
Yeah, it's so special in so many ways. It means so many things to different people.
Sure.
We have dear friends in Stonington, just to give you an idea, who go every year. And one particular year, their daughter and her boyfriend, they go every year, but this particular year, the boyfriend said, no, I'm going to the Red Sox game. I'm not going to make it. But guess what? He shows up at about 7:30 and walks over to his girlfriend and drops to his knees and asks her to marry him.
Oh, my God.
At Pops. And knowing how special it was to the family, knowing that she was going to be there with her mother and father. And that's, again, how special an event that is. That has that kind of meaning to people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, fun.
You mentioned George Kent at the start of that conversation, and doing the 50 under 50, the 50 over 50. I wish that I know that he would have been on the list, if he hadn't passed away a couple months ago. But
he'd been on the list. I'm not sure he'd do an interview.
He wouldn't do it.
He's a pretty modest guy.
I've gotten him to do an interview with me a couple times. Yeah,
it must have been for a cause.
Well, Christchurch.
Yeah, there you are.
Christchurch, and then a couple lectures that we did during the pandemic for the chorus. But the first time I met him, you mentioned the first time you met him was taking out the trash.
Oh no, I didn't meet him. I met him way before that.
Well, yeah, you would have taken out the trash with him. That's what. Sorry, the first time I met him, I was in the George Kent Performance Hall. I knew the building. I mentioned that beforehand. I told you we started with doing theater and renting out the chorus hall and stuff. I knew him. I knew the building before I knew him. And one day, Dave and I are in there, and Dave was a chorus kid, and and obviously he had told me a lot about Mr. Kent. And so the first time I ever met Mr. Kent was him coming into a room, nudging me and going, "Hey, help me move this table." And so that was my introduction to him. And I'm so grateful for the last 5 years to have been able to film him every week at Christ Church while we did. I was lucky enough to see every service that he did for the last 5 years at Christ Church, being their production specialist. So,
Good for you.
All right, let's talk about family. Let's end this with talking a little bit about family. Your wife, Ada, your daughters, Robin and Ebby, son-in-law, Adam, 4 granddaughters. What does that mean to you?
Where do you start?
How did you meet your wife?
It was a blind date. I'd gotten out of the Navy and horsed around the West Coast for a couple of months and realized I wanted to get back into school and I better get focused. And okay, you've had your fun. After 3 tours to Vietnam and being a civilian again, went up to Oregon to see my sister and horsed around the West Coast a little bit and decided, okay, and woke up one Monday and said, let's get back on track, and headed east. And drove home and got a hold of one of my oldest and dearest friends, a guy that I'm still friends with today. We played football together in high school. And he said, listen, I'm going to call Chris, his girlfriend, who I'd known well, and said, we'll get you a date for tonight. We'll go in and see the Boston Pops. And it works for me. I mean, again, I knew him well and knew I could trust him. And we couldn't get tickets. We went into the city, went into the Symphony Hall, and they were sold out, needless to say. And so we ended up going to a movie, but he fixed me up with with the woman who's now been my wife for 53 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow to her. Congratulations. She put up with my nonsense for 53 years.
Yeah. She should get the 50 over 50 just for putting up with you for.
You're not kidding. I'm the first one to admit that. You should be sainted. She'll tell you it's thanks to the miracle of modern medication, but I think there's more to it than that. Our daughters, Robin is our oldest, and she came along 5 years after we were married. And then Ebby came along 7 years after that.
Oh, wow.
There's 7 years between Robin and Ebby. And Robin now has a 20-year-old daughter and a 17-year-old who's a senior in high school in Old Lyme. And Ebby, of course, has got, we call her Squeaks. That's Stella, and then Eva T, who is about to be 6.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. They're treasures. They only live 4 miles from us.
Yeah.
So we see them a lot. We get to babysit a lot, and there's nothing better.
Oh, that's awesome. I think Stella goes to school with my nephew.
I'm sure.
We love them. What are some of your favorite things to do when you're not doing any of the million things that you do all the time?
Wow.
Like what are some of, how does Bob Elmer relax?
He's a big football fan. He's delighted the season has started.
What's your team?
Sorry?
What's your team?
Grew up north of Chicago, the Bears.
Love it.
Although I'm happy for the Patriots when they win, but my heart's with the Chicago Bears, I'm afraid, and the Chicago Cubs.
Okay, well, you had one good year with the Cubs at least.
Yeah, they finally won it, just like the Red Sox.
It.
The Red Sox have done a little bit better than the Cubs, but they finally broke whatever jinx was on them. The goat curse, I guess it was.
The curse of the Billy Goat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good for you.
Oh, hey, thanks.
So, enjoy writing and it was traveling more than anything, I guess. Used to do a lot of sailing, but my knees aren't liking that too much these days. Too much moving around and stuff. So, again, writing, reading, traveling more than anything. Really enjoy that.
Nice. Do you have, this is, now I'm going to just say a selfish thing here, with 25 years of broadcast experience and so much other things that you've done, as someone who owns a media company myself and is sort of, we're doing the new media version of what a radio station used to be and still is, and all of that. Do you have any advice for me?
Wow. Always be a student, always be learning. listen to those that have been at it, pick people's brains. That's you really have to be a student of whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can fall back on the historian thing. At the hotel, I immediately dived onto Google and read books and articles and including the history book of the hotel itself, and really became a student of that. And I find that when I'm asked a question I don't have the answer to, it drives me crazy. I hate being that guy. Somebody asked me once, I pointed out that the house that belongs to She Will Not Be Named sits on the highest coastal residential elevation in the state of Rhode Island, all 65 feet of it. Well, one of the guests said, well, what's the highest on the East Coast? I don't know. I didn't like not having the answer. 10 minutes later, I had it.
Yep.
By the way, for the record, it's the Atlantic Highlands in Monmouth County, New Jersey.
Nice.
And as she's walking out of the hotel, the Atlantic Highlands in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Now she knows. She left knowing that. I did not like being asked the answer to a question. So be a student of whatever it is that you're really focused on. I mean, this industry, broadcasting, I can't begin to tell you, it's horse and buggy man in the moon now.
Yeah.
In terms of technology and remote, what we're doing right now. And I mean, things that I could get into the early days of program logs and radio stations, and no, everybody wouldn't know what I was talking about. It's what tells them when to play the news and do the sports reports and the weather and the commercials and all that. And
Yep.
the document you have to initial and sign off on and follow very closely. And I go back to the days of carbon paper before they had copy machines. He says, dating himself.
Oh, that's all right. That's the point. That's the point of this, right? To celebrate that. And there's so much that you've accomplished. We can't possibly cram in every detail of an incredible life lived in 30 minutes, but you are so incredibly well deserving of this award and acknowledgement. And thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for all that you've done for our community for 40 plus 50, almost 50 years in this area. So
well, thank you, Ben. I mean, it's a pretty good company. I've always said that this area is blessed with some wonderful people. I don't necessarily include myself in that, but there are so many that have come before me that have really, really, they're the ones who set the bar. And I'm talking about guys like Joe Cugini, who was a star in Westerly High School's state champion basketball team, was so proud of the fact that he was down on High Street with a folding table and a card table and two folding chairs, and started the Westerly Community Credit Union. Or a guy like Joe Kirby. When I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, Joe was my Citizen of the Year. And it was a personal friend, and we had a professional and personal relationship, as I did with Joe. And these were guys who were champions of the community, and they really, really led the way. And an awful for guys like myself, and you learn from them. I mean, you've got to have your heart in it, but we are so blessed with so many different people that are willing. The Doug Rayners of the world and the Andrew Nathans of the world, and on and on and on it goes, that are willing to step up and be a part of what makes this living in this part of the world so special.
Amen. Amen, Bob. You have a pick a chair and you can take it anytime you want, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sure that I've invited other guests for 50 Under 50 back at some point, but I don't know that I've ever said literally just pick. You can move into this studio if you want. This has been fantastic.
I'll warn you, don't invite me. I will come.
Well, thank you. Have a safe trip. I know you're leaving for a few days. Have a safe trip. Thank you so much. Thank you for being the first honoree for 50 Over 50. And can't wait to.
I'm very grateful to the organization and whoever nominated me. I'm not sure I'm worthy, but as I said, I'm very proud to be in the company of an awful lot of those people that I recognized on that list.
You most certainly are worthy of this and so much more. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Elmer, Thank you to Valenti Family of Dealerships, 321 Media, and the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. This has been the first edition of 50 Over 50. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.